All right, market recap, trade recap, February 19th, Thursday, and your boy got chopped up this morning. So we'll go over the bias, what I was looking for, why I took this trade right here. And losses are never fun, but let's just go ahead and get into it, man. Hourly chart, super bearish in my opinion. I'll just pull up my pre-market thoughts here. Bias was pretty simple. Bearish bias, wanted to see this low resistance liquidity get taken. Really nothing's changed because I took this trade really on into market open. Could possibly tap the 1 hour before selling off, but I'm really locked into shorts this morning. So very bearish coming into the day. I thought there was a possibility we would come up and tap this 1 hour gap before heading lower, which it looks like that's what we're doing right now. ES has just tapped its 1 hour gap. But yeah, this was the trade that I took right here. And I don't really know how to feel about it, honestly, because, and maybe I should have taken a moment before starting this recap video. But coming into the market, I wanted to see us potentially start to close below this swing low here. The 1 minute comes down, we sweep these internal highs, and then we come down and displace lower. And this 1 minute candle came up. I didn't like how this 1 minute candle closed because we came all the way down and then had a big wick up. So for that reason, I wasn't willing to limit order the fair value gap because I was looking to limit order the fair value gap, play a big stop, something like this, just with a bigger stop. Didn't do that because of the strong wick, but then we ended up coming into this fair value gap and got bearish candle closed out of it, and then I entered. And my game plan was to go break even at this first low, and then I would want to see pretty clean follow through to the next low, which was only 50 points away. So that was yeah, I mean, I felt like it was pretty decent rejection. You know, you get the first candle wick, reject lower, one, and then the next candle closed down here. So the entry is really on this candle close down here, which I think is pretty clean. Like at this point in time, these rejection wick, bearish candle close down here. With this rejection, in my opinion, like we're typically for sure going to come down to this internal low and get break evened, right? But the actual entry for me was I waited for a little bit of a pullback for on the next candle when the next candle opened. So that was my entry. And yeah, man, I feel like it was pretty decent. You know, there's no way this early on into market open, like you can really, it's hard to know that we're just going to chop and fail to deliver. Like I said, the only thing that I can think of is the fact that we barely closed below this internal low. And yeah, that's personally I don't hate the trade, right? Very valid trade idea. The only thing I will say is going back to where a lot of my losses do come. We are not trending at this point in time, right? We've gotten some good displacement lower. I have draws lower, but we're not necessarily actively trending towards a draw in liquidity, and that's the only thing I can think of right now, because we were kind of close to this liquidity down here. I thought we would go take it, you know. But like I said, pretty much every like, I don't know, man. Like, now it looks so obvious that we just rejected these lows, right, with the 5-minute closes. But like I said, at this point in time, you don't know that we're just gonna chop, and that's what it comes down to is, are you willing to put risk on the table on something like this when we're not yet actively trending, right? Because the market just opened, and pre-market it was just kind of consolidation. So this is just more of a, hey, I'm gonna trust my bias. I'm gonna trust my high time frame draws and liquidity. So this one sucks, man, because you know I don't want to get too into the logistics of things, but yeah, it puts a dent in it puts a dent in terms of payout wise, for sure. But I locked myself out. I'm not gonna crash out today, and just gotta think long term. So, you know, if I had to guess, we're gonna start to. I mean, that's just a pretty big reject. I did not think we were gonna get that big of a rejection. I'm not gonna lie. Man, I mean, I guess I probably should have waited. I probably should have waited. We never really continued past the internal lows, and got kind of trigger happy, I guess, you know. Anyways, I'm gonna pause the video and come back and see what the market does and give myself a little bit of time to think, and then I will wrap this one up. So this is just all my raw emotions right now. So I will be back in a few minutes. Oh my gosh, if we just okay, I'm gonna pause it. All right, so I'm pretty disappointed in myself for taking this, because literally coming into the day, like, I felt like I knew we had to move past this internal low, and I had it marked out just like this. And this candle, I think I got a little bit excited when I saw this sell off here, and then this candle came all the way down. And at this point in time, when this candle's down here, I'm like, okay, bet, we're going lower, lower, lower. And we come back up in this ugly wick, and I'm like I told you, I was going to limit order. I didn't because of that wick. We then come up and reject lower, but this 5-minute candle closed. This 5-minute candle had already closed, and I saw that we had wicked it out on the 5-minute, and I still didn't. And I was still zoomed to the 1-minute chart, and even knowing that we rejected here and seeing this 5-minute candle close, the reason I'm still zoomed in is because if I'm not zoomed in, right, it's like I'm not going to be able to take a trade to this, what I would call an A+ drawn liquidity. And so I'm still zoomed in on the 1-minute chart, even after this pretty much rejection failed to displace past the internal low. And we got a 5-minute candle that completely wicked out the low, but I'm still zoomed into the 1-minute chart because that's the only way that I could possibly get an entry, right? And yes, we do reject And yes, those are some nice candle closes, but because we had already rejected this internal low and the 5-minute candle rejected it, like if the higher time frames are going to tell the best story, right? But if we're already rejecting and failing to go lower, then the reaction doesn't really mean as much. And I don't want to just sit here and cope, but like I'm trying to work through in live time to y'all guys. And I'm doing this for myself as well because like I'm trying to improve. Why this trade, I'm trying to work through why exactly this trade did not work out. And that's the only reason why I can think about that this trade did not work out, right? Very bearish higher time frames. I knew there was a possibility we'd potentially come up to this 1 hour gap before selling off. And the way I would have confidence that we're not going to go touch the 1 hour gap before selling is if we just continued lower right off the open. And like I said, I literally had this internal low marked out. Failed to, we barely closed below it and then just rejected higher. 5-minute, completely wicked it out. And that's what I've been trying to be so good at since coming back and making these videos, and especially since being on back on an XFA, is not getting chopped up and not being too zoomed in. I did a good job of not getting chopped up on Tuesday, Wednesday, I felt like, of this week, and avoided losses those days, and I wasn't able to avoid this one. And I just got chopped up. There's nothing else to it. Just got chopped up right here, man. This is just chop. And yes, I'm not denying the fact that we had good reactions here. But what does that mean if we've already rejected the internal low? Right? So it's tough to analyze, but that's, if I attribute any reason to this trade feeling, it's the fact that we already wicked the internal low. We wicked it out and rejected it on the 1 minute here and coming to the 5-minute. And that's what my other loss was exactly, was it already wicked out the internal. It was a high, but we had already wicked out the internal high. And then we got a good reaction even after wicking out the internal high. But what does that mean, right? We already failed to go higher. I need to see us continue past the wick that we put in to confirm that we're actually going to continue past it. And we had failed to do so. So that's why this trade lost. And so that's the common theme with my losses. They're either like premature entries or like we had already wicked out the internal. And so my two losses so far have been very, very similar. Already wicked out the internal low in this instance. And yeah, I'm just going to pull it up just for reference. All right, February 11th. This was last Wednesday. Yeah, so a week ago. Internal. It's already swept. We then come down, rebalance to this 15-minute and get good reactions, but we already swept this internal and failed to displace past it. And it's another one of those scenarios similarly where it's like the draw on liquidity is already so close, so like I would have to enter here, but that's the problem, right? That's just a trade that can't be taken at that point. Already took the internal and got good reactions, but we got a good candle close, but what does that mean? And then once we start to displace lower and trend lower, I missed out on an A+ trade here. So this was like, A+ trade would have been about $1,000. We lost $500 here. So that's like a $1,500 swing in one day because I failed to just be patient and failed to I did realize it and I still took the trade anyways. That we had already wicked out the internal high. And very similarly, we come down, wick out the internal. We then rebalance and get good reactions, but what does that mean? Right? And part of the reason why it's so hard to sit out of this is because I know that if this plays out, that's going to be hard to sit with if this plays out. And I'm like, wow, I saw that the whole way. This trade wasn't perfect, but I should have entered. But like looking back, if my losses are coming from when we already wick out the internal high or low, why would I want to be taking those trades? Also, going back even farther to trades that I took before even coming back to making these videos, these are premature trades as they are. Like, they're kind of just FOMO entries, but you can see, failed to close past this internal high. We wicked it out here. We then come up and wick out the internal high again, and I still entered. So, and another example, like I remember I got stopped out here and this ended up playing out, going straight to the buy side liquidity. We got a good buy up, wicked out this internal. This was the market open high. Wicked it out again. Never sufficiently confirmed and closed past it. Right here, another example. We wicked out the internal. There's a data low here that I got super fixated on, an hourly low here. We wicked out this internal, rebounced to 1 minute, got reactions out of it. I entered, and this is very, very similar. We never closed below the internal low. We never confirmed that we were going to actually move past. We never moved out of this range here. It's kind of predicting. So yeah, this is a bit of a longer video, but that's my analysis. Wicked out the internal, failed to displace past, and there was no actively trending price action. Those are the reasons why this trade failed, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's the market recap. I had confidence in shorts. High time frame wise was very, very bearish, but failed to sufficiently get that confirmation that we were going lower. And I can't care how close we are to the draw on liquidity, right? And you could call that FOMO in a way. Is like, I'm gonna miss out if I don't zoom in here, even though we've already wicked it out. If I don't zoom in and if I don't take this entry, then I'm not going to be able to get an entry because we're so close to the draw on liquidity. But wicking out the internal is what's killing me, and I've got to. I can't take any more losses like that. I've got to learn from it, and I've got to implement it. I've done a good job, I feel like, for the most part, of staying out of chop. But my two losses have come from wicking out the internal and failing to go lower. And so after we fail to displace past the internal low or high or whatever it is, it doesn't matter how good the reaction is because it's not yet confirmed, right? So the ideal scenario would have been, okay, waiting for this to actually displace. Maybe we take this first draw and then get another pullback and I get an entry for the second draw. Or maybe we take the second draw and maybe it's one of those expansion days where we just expand 400 points and I'm able to take a trade to the next draw, which was about 350 points away. But instead, we wicked it out and I got stopped. So that's a trade recap. Very, very long one. But that's my full raw emotions right after taking the loss, taking a step back, realizing what I did wrong, and now going forward, all I can do is implement this loss and let it fuel me to become a better trader, and let it push me to improve. That's all I can do at this point. The P&L is already negative 500. There's nothing I can do at this point to change that. I followed my rules and I locked myself out. So what can I do going forward? I can make damn sure that I don't take another loss because we've already wicked out the internal high or low. So that's what I'm going to do. So with that being said, I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you took a trade today. Yeah, man, I will see you tomorrow for Friday in the market recap, wrapping up this week. And we'll see what happens. All I'm going to do is come into the market and follow my rules. And so, yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Peace.